Hello, guys. Good morning. Welcome to my YouTube. This is Riviera, aka Riv, and I am on my morning walk. I figured that I would come back. It's next week, so I'm here and just get you guys caught up on kind of what I've been doing ever since the last video I posted. And I got my TV up. It took me 2 days, y'all, to strip the screw head to be able to take like a flathead screw and take it out. Take the leg out of my TV so I can mount it flush, like flat on the wall. Whenever I get my room together, I will give you guys a tour of my space. Really small. It's nothing too crazy. But, yes. So, I decided to try something new and embark on a fitness and health and wellness journey. So, I am walking. Yesterday, I did 5 miles. I'm going to do the same this morning. So this video might be short if I start huffing and puffing and like getting winded or whatever. I bought me a towel so I can wipe the sweat. And so far since I've been in my new area, I moved from Lafayette, Louisiana to Mandeville, Louisiana. It's about a 2-hour distance from one another, and the area is very up and coming. I'd say it's kind of posh. Like, it's very family friendly. There are like sheriffs patrolling the neighborhood every day. It's really safe. I feel like I don't have to live in survival mode here, where I'm always looking over my shoulder, wondering if there's crime, or, having to be on such high alert for predators. This is not that type of area. Not that I should not be aware of my surroundings at all times, but the neighborhood I now live in is safe. It's not the hood. So I hate to even have to say that, but I mean, it just kind of is what it is. And so you probably will hear a lot of traffic. It does get busy on this road, but there's a trail right next to the house, and we just take it all the way down to where the actual trail starts for like 5Ks and 100 meter, like 100K dashes and marathons that they have around town. I'm gonna walk to that trail and back. And I think that covers like a span of 5 miles forward and backward. So I'm excited. Like, I was talking about losing the weight I gained from last year when I was in like a very deep depression and had gone to the hospital, had a lot of stress, and just really really put on a lot of weight with the medication, getting out, trying to get readjusted and all of that stuff. Like, I seriously was mentally overwhelmed. I just totally was wound up. So I'm not even sure where I want to start as far as what part of the story I want to bring you guys in on. I I guess we'll start with talking about dating, since now I'm trying to like mingle and figure out like what type of person is for me now that I'm in this realm of life. Like, I have a new mindset, a different way of thinking. I have more clarity about who I am as a person, the things that I will and will not tolerate, what goals I have, the things I'd like to accomplish. Just a number of things have changed for me, and trying to find someone who is compatible, someone who is complimentary to me, someone who can manage like the daily stresses of life and not themselves become too overwhelmed, someone who is level-headed, mature, bro. Like, just the simple things I find is difficult. And then we even get into like small preferences, like if you're from a certain area, or you open to long distance, what's your mindset around monogamy? Are you more open? Like, what's your sexuality? Are you comfortable with being like transparent and sensual, like showing your authentic self? All kind of stuff. So back in 2017, I was like getting over a breakup from college, and took some time to like really purge and heal. I did all of the things. Like, oh, did I cry? I cried, I yelled, I fussed, I wrote letters. And good morning, guys. All right. I cried, I wrote letters, I burned them. What else? They got dogs out here, y'all, but they all locked up or on fences. I was meditated. I mean, I was in solitude. I spoke with friends and family. I vented. Like, whatever you do when you're going through a breakup, I did all that fucking shit. I got on a wave of watching like inspirational people on YouTube, on the Facebook, like just finding my groove, finding like positive, affirming feedback to like rebuild my confidence before I got back into the dating game or whatever. So about 6 months, about 6 months after I broke up with my ex from college, going from 2016 to 2017, I met this guy in the park. I went to the park. I was reading my Bible. I just sat to myself and tried to clear my mind before I had to go to work on an evening shift. And I was in the park on a bench in front of like a pond or whatever. And I saw this guy. He kept like passing me. Like, he kept parading himself in front of me. Just back and forth, back and forth. He passed me like 6 times. And I was just like, what the fuck is he looking for? Like, what on earth is he doing? And I just kept reading and listening to my music. Then he interrupted me. He tried to get my attention. And he asked if he could sit and talk with me. I was like, sure. I had a minute. We can sit and talk. So he joined me on the bench. And we had a very open, in-depth conversation about a number of things. Naturally, he would ask me about my faith, what my beliefs were, clearly because I was sitting in the park, like, reading a Bible. And you don't see that. Like, it's not something that you see people just doing. They usually are in the privacy of their homes, in a church congregation, like Bible study, someplace like intimate, if they're going to be reading like a work of art like that. So we talked, and like, unbeknownst to me, what I did not realize was I was being studied. I was being heavily observed or whatever, to for him to alter like his personality to cater to my type of person. And which at the time I really didn't have a type, like, and I honestly don't have a type. Sorry, it's like really, really loud, but I don't have much of a type. Like, my type is tall. Like, everybody that I've dated in the past have all been at least 5'11" or taller. Like, for real, for real. So he's like, well, what's your type? What do you look for in a guy? Woo, 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 woo. And I'm like, just be your authentic self. I'm going to know, what is suitable for me or not based on your character and what you show me of yourself as a person. Like, I don't want to give you a list of items to check off so that you can pretend to be those and manipulate, like trying to get with me or whatever. Now, meanwhile, I didn't say all of this to him up front. These are just lessons that I learned in hindsight, and that person is definitely speeding. Anyway, so I ended up having a beautiful conversation with a guy that I met randomly in the park. He was tall, well put together. He was clean cut. He was nicely dressed. He was a photographer who I learned also modeled and acted. He was very charming. He was definitely a gentleman. He was courteous. And he was very intelligent, and that really intrigued me because I'm a sapiosexual. If you can stimulate me mentally, like, you about got me. You just about got me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so stimulated by this conversation. It's very intriguing to me. Let me learn more about you. And that's where he had me at. So I had to leave the park to head to work and be on time for my shift. So he offered to walk me to my car. I let him, and then he held my hand. He went to shake my hand, on the departure, and he held my hand for a while, and I knew it was something a little odd about it, because when I tried to take my hand back, like, he just kept holding it. I was like, I have to go, but it's been nice, talking to you. And so he was also like a white guy, and I had never dated a white guy before. Never really shown interest in someone outside of my ethnicity. So I was like, okay, this is new. This is different. I'm not accustomed to it. Let's give it a shot. So he asked for my number before I left the park. We exchanged numbers. And then I went to work. That was it. That was my first encounter with him. When I got in the car. Hello. Yes. When I got in the car, I immediately called my parents, like, you guys, they called. I don't remember if they called me or if I called them, but I ended up talking to my parents at the time. They were riding around together, my mom's new ride and all of this. And um, they had asked me like, well, what are you up to? What are you getting into? And all this stuff. And immediately I was like, y'all, like, I just met a man in the park. And they were like, you met a man? What kind of man you met? And so I was like, he was very pleasant. Like, it was a nice surprise. Like, okay, I wasn't expecting to meet somebody in the park. He gave his number to me. Like, we exchanged numbers. And I didn't think that I was going to hear from him. I went on to work. I told my parents about what I thought of him and how we came to talk and meet that day. And I was like, very intrigued. Now, let me give you guys a background of like, and I got to give these people names. For the sake of the story, I'm not going to reveal their real names on camera. But like, I definitely am going to, give them like an alias for sure. So let's call this relationship. I ended up being in a relationship with him, but I'll get to that part. So this guy, we will call him. Oh, what do I want to call a man? I'm gonna call this Real Love. I'm gonna call it Real Love. So Mr. Real Love was the last person I had been with or whatever. Oh, thank you. Really cool. So cool. So anyway, I decided to call him Mr. Real Love. So before Mr. Real Love, I had my college love. The guy that I ended up being with damn near all the way through college. That, just a little bit of a background on my transition from that relationship to this relationship. In that relationship, it was long distance. I had met him at a church convention or whatever. And I had to be my last year in high school. I was graduating and going to college. So I met him that summer and we started talking or whatever. We dated for 5 years on and off throughout college. So for certain, I had been long distance. So he wasn't very affectionate. I did not get showered with like gifts and trips and a lot of physical affection. It was like my past partner, like my college love was a little immature, and so the communication was not always the strongest. And so I was coming from a really deep heartbreak in my previous relationship with my college love before I met Mr. Real Love. And so when I met Mr. Real Love, he ended up messaging me after our encounter in the park. And we just hit it off. Like, we started talking maybe a couple weeks after I met him. And from there, we were kind of inseparable. At the time, I had gone from working like 3 jobs in 2016 to only working 1. And I was part-time. I had a lot of free time. So in my spare time, I would spend it getting to know him, spending time with him, just like catching up on life and our past experiences, family, all of the things that you do, when you are showing interest in someone you like to date. So I have made it to the track and we are now turning around. So, brief interlude. Okay, little families in the back. I love the area. It's really, really nice, guys. Very beautiful outside, and luckily the weather's clear. So we just gonna keep rolling with it. Anyway, Mr. Real Love came into my life and swooned me. Like, he was the first guy that I dated who took me out, literally, like, on really nice dates. My first date with him was a picnic date in the park that we met at. He bought lunch. He bought candles. He bought water for us to drink. We sat and talked a while. I went home. We talked on the phone for hours. And about 3 weeks in, he had an emotional outpouring with me where he told me about all of his life experiences, where he had been, what he had come through. He had shared with me his past experiences in relationships, how he felt about it, what his view was of marriage. And I didn't realize at the time that it was a cry for affection and emptiness that he was trying to fill within himself. But he was projecting all of his trauma and his wounds onto me. But me, at the time, being an empath, this is a really cool card, guys. Me, at the time, being an empath, felt deeply for him. And I was actually inspired and I highly admired that he was so raw. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm sorry that you experienced that, but you're here, you're present, you survived, just like all of us. We all have our own turmoil to live through, to overcome as a person, so it strengthens our character. Like, we don't have to allow life to get us down or whatever. So, I just encouraged him, and maybe that's what he needed at the time. So I was just like, he was like, well, if we're going to take vows with each other or whatever, like, I need to know that we can live, we can overcome. There we go. I need to know that we can overcome, like, hardships. And this is what he's telling me. He's like, well, we have to live out the vows and see if we can make it through those seasons before we know whether or not we want to take a relationship further than dating. Which I agreed. It's like, it makes sense. That makes sense. I'll go with that. So about 2 months into dating, I had never done this before, but I asked him to be my boyfriend or whatever. And he was like, whoa, like, you serious? You sure you want to do that? And so I was like, yeah, I feel comfortable. Like, we started dating. A couple months after we started dating, when I asked him to be my boyfriend, like, I gave him a key to the place, moving fast. Like, I was moving fast, but I just was going based off how I felt. I didn't consider, like, sorry if y'all can't see me. I didn't consider like logistics or what was practical. Like, I was caught up in all of these overwhelming feelings that, you know, this person has been authentic with me. They've been forthcoming. They've had an outpour. Like, do I really want to give this a shot? Like, I feel comfortable. I don't feel threatened. This is the first time I've been treated like this by any man. So I was like, why not? You know, let's shoot for it. So he was like, okay. After I gave him a key, at the time I talked to a friend about it, let her know like who this person was to me and how I was feeling about him. And she was like, oh my God, you're dating a white man who's gonna hack you up into pieces like a psycho. And I was like, bitch, why the fuck would you say that shit? Like, I just gave this dude a key and you're telling me he's gonna murder me? That's a bit extreme because you don't like that he's white. So I called my mom and I talked to her. And she was just like, girl, you can't be listening to your fucked up ass friends who always arguing with their boyfriend every fucking 2 days. And just because they feel a way about a person and they got prejudices, they don't want to see you happy with someone who's treating you well. Like, fuck all that. I was like, thank you, Mom. I needed to be brought back down to earth because that shit really scared me. And so I continued to date him. And I'll talk about it in segments or whatever. But in hindsight, I learned a lot of things in that relationship over time. And we ended up dating for a little under 3 years. So from 2017, when we started out, until we ended in 2020, I had gone on a whirlwind romance with Mr. Real Love, you know, because I thought that being shown affection and doing all the relationship things for the first time with someone who I could actually communicate with, I could actually bond with. There was transparency. I felt safe with or whatever. Like, I felt that, oh, this is what a real, genuine adult relationship is supposed to feel like without all of the toxicity. And so we ended up like separating 3 years later. But I learned a hell of a lot through him. And I learned a hell of a lot more about myself through him. So y'all will have to stay tuned for the next part. I'm going to change gears. I brought that up to say, like, dating now, trying to find a person who's qualified and ready for a relationship that's at least on a path to their own spiritual healing, their own physical, mental, emotional, economic, financial, all of the things, their own well-being, health and wellness journey is difficult because many people are not working on themselves. They are deflecting. Oh my goodness, you guys, I'm really sweating. They're deflecting and projecting. And it's really hard to weave out, like, who is an ideal partner to be dating in this who's healthy to be dating, you know, at this point in the game. So I'll be back. I'm gonna finish my walk, but yeah, y'all chime in And let me know if you have had like a whirlwind romance, like sweep you off your feet, only to later find out that that person was not for you. All right. Until next time, it's been good.